Have you ever felt like you're trying to figure life out while also growing closer to God? Like you love Jesus, you're still healing, still learning, still becoming. If that's you, you're in the right place. Welcome to Growing Through Grace, where young faith meets real life. I'm Micaiah, and this podcast is a space for honest conversations about faith, healing, growth, purpose, wellness, and becoming the woman of God created you to be, one step at a time. Before we go any further, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and how this podcast even came to be. My name is Micaiah. I'm 19 going on 20. I'm an exercise science major, future athletic trainer, and someone who's passionate about faith, wellness, healing, and helping young women grow spiritually and personally. I love working in ministry, especially children's. I'm a co-owner of a Christian girls group called CGC. And information about that is in my Instagram bio at MICAIAHMARSHAE _ at Micaiah Marche _. This podcast was born from seasons of healing, surrender, growth, and grace. There was a time where I struggled silently, mentally, and emotionally, and God slowly began pulling me closer to Him. What does growing through grace mean to me? Growing through grace means understanding that growth with God is not about perfection. It doesn't occur overnight, in a month, and it will sometimes have you consistently and intentionally working on it daily. We still make mistakes, we still have hard days, but God gives us grace while we grow. This podcast is about being real while pursuing Jesus. There's one scripture that perfectly represents the heart behind this entire podcast, Philippians 1:6. And I am certain that God, who began the good work within you, will continue His work until it's finally finished on the day when Jesus Christ returns. NLT. This verse reflects the heart behind because it's a reminder that growth with God is a process. Healing, discipline, becoming, and transformation doesn't happen overnight, but God is faithful through it all. God is not finished with my story, and He's most definitely not finished with yours. While I hold on to that promise now, there was a time where my relationship with God looked very different. Before fully surrendering to God, I knew of Him, but I wasn't truly walking with Him. I grew up in the church my whole life. My grandfather was a pastor, then my dad picked up the mantle. I was active in the church, singing, praise dancing, and later grew into a children's Sunday school teacher. Through all of it, I struggled internally and searched for peace and identity and purpose in the wrong places. I allowed the world to guide me through life and coping. And even in those moments, God never stopped pursuing me and calling me to fully serve Him. On Sunday, May 28th, 2023, my sophomore year in high school, my cousins and I decided to step out and get baptized. This was a special moment. Not only did it represent surrender and fully giving my life to Christ, but my dad was the one baptizing me. This decision did not make life perfect overnight, but it marked the beginning of a deeper relationship with God. I still found myself struggling with my demeanor, having a nasty attitude, mistreating and not forgiving my neighbors, and girl, my mouth. But following Jesus does not mean becoming perfect overnight. You can love God deeply and still be healing. You can have faith and still have hard seasons. Growth takes time, and that's why grace matters. And after almost 2.5 years of fighting, running, I finally decided to fully surrender to Christ. My mindset, desires, and perspective changed from judging to praying, grudges to forgiveness, revenge to mercy, hurt to healing, and even silence to testimony. I learned that my identity is rooted in God, not validation or appearance. I'm still growing every day, but surrendering to God changed my life. And that transformation is a big part on why this podcast exists. Growing Through Grace is for young women trying to grow closer to God while navigating real life. We'll talk about faith, healing, mental health, wellness, identity, relationships, purpose, discipline, confidence in God, college life, and even womanhood. This podcast just won't be conversations behind a microphone. I really wanted to feel personal and connected to real life. Some episodes may be recorded in a coffee shop or on a nature walk, during dinner or a sweet treat or a fun drink, sleepovers, or even in an everyday moment of life. I will bring on different guests from different ages and walks of life to have honest conversations, share testimony, wisdom, healing, and growth. And no matter where these conversations happen, my prayer is that every listener leaves encouraged. God is not asking you to be perfect before coming to Him. Healing takes time, growth is a process, but God is faithful through every step. Thank you for listening to the very first episode of Growing Through Grace. Remember, grace is not an excuse to stay the same, but is a reason why we keep growing.